Part 12. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 112. Fortunately, it was not too late for Lily to come. It happened to be when the original owner was filming his first film. Perhaps this was the most embarrassing time for the original owner, so her mission started from here, and there was no pain in her body. Apart from the disgusting touch of the man she just touched in her palm, she felt no physical discomfort or discomfort. This film was her first film, and because of this, the producer gave her the high price of 100,000 yuan. Probably means that she hasn't been hit yet. Thinking of the bank book card she gave to Song Tiankai, Lily couldn't help but twitch at the corner of her mouth. She slowly got up from the ground. The original owner was blessed with a pair of slender and straight breasts. This is also one of the reasons why she became famous in the plot besides her pure face. At this moment, she was barefoot and had just walked out of the studio. When she came out, she didn't even wear her own shoes. She was covered in a very cheap coat with no underwear inside. She was very shabby. A girl who didn't even graduate from high school worked hard in the imperial capital for more than 4 years and saved nearly 20,000 yuan. She was reluctant to eat or drink on weekdays, but she was deceived by Song Tiankai. The money she owed outside, in the plot she had swindled her parents out of 50,000 yuan in repayment, and the 50,000 yuan that the Wang family and his wife came up with were not only their life savings, but also money from selling their land. Lily Wang is the kind of person who, for the sake of love, would rather wear shabby clothes herself, but also wear bright and beautiful clothes for Song Tiankai. The clothes she wears are bought from street stalls, and she buys clothes for Song Tiankai, even if he is not famous now, or even has already it's outdated, but he still wears clothes imported from foreign countries. Thinking of this, Lily couldn't help but gritted her teeth. After coming to the imperial capital for a few years, Wang Beihe rented a basement. Beihe was kicked out by the director with no money at this time, and her legs were bare. Now when she thought of the dark home in her memory, she could only walk with her legs. Go in that direction. She is actually quite good, many times better than the original owner, who lost her virginity during the first filming. In the end, the money was put into the card and Song Tiankai took it away. She endured the pain all over her body and walked home. She cried for 2 days and 2 nights when she got home. She called Song Tiankai but he didn't answer at all. A few days later, she called Wang Huijin is done with her tenderness and wants to come over to her to continue filming. Only then did he appear with a reluctant look on his face. Lily was walking while trying to practice the 9 Yang manual, but she didn't know if it was because the martial arts had become looming, but she sadly found that she couldn't remember certain places. When she thought of this, Lily felt really confused again. Feeling the urge to spurt blood, she had no choice but to practice the 9 Yin manual first. Compared with the 9 Yang manual, the 9 Yin manual's exercises are more feminine, and it is much easier to get started than the 9 Yang manual. It can be mastered quickly in almost half a year, especially some of the palm techniques, which are extremely powerful. However, after practicing, Lily may face a change that she does not want to happen, especially to practice the 9 Yin manual, which requires certain these harsh environments, coupled with the fact that this set of exercises mainly focus on attack methods. Although the power is strong, it is not as deep as the inner strength after practicing the 9 Yang manual. With a good foundation, in the later stage, Beihe felt that the 9 Yang manual was much easier to practice than the 9 Yin manual. But now there was nothing she could do to be picky. She had to practice the 9 Yin manual first and then look back to see if she could find a way to restore the 9 Yang manual. She lowered her head and walked all the way towards her dark and damp temporary residence. She had a pair of bare white feet, but her steps were slow and slow. Her long and beautiful legs were surprisingly straight. She wore only a coat on her upper body and her hair was covered with hair. Her long hair covered her face, and her decadence gave people a feeling of being indifferent to the hustle and bustle of the city. However, she seemed not to care much about it, attracting the attention of many passing cars. Someone took out their mobile phones to take pictures of her. A black the pale young man in the RV accidentally glanced outside and couldn't look away again. After finally returning to the basement, Lily was having a hard time walking because she had no martial arts skills. Fortunately, she didn't lose the keys to her mobile phone inside her coat. As soon as she took out her keys and opened the old iron door, the phone in her coat rang. "Stand up." She took out her mobile phone and saw that it was a very old mobile phone. Nowadays, almost all young and beautiful girls have switched to smartphones. Wang Bei still uses a touch-tone mobile phone, and the name Tiankai on it is exactly the same. It kept flashing and the bell kept ringing. "Hello," Bei picked up the phone, and Song Tiankai's voice sounded like he was a little angry. "Zia, have you finished filming today? Why haven't you called me now? Carrie also no money yet? I'm just waiting. What's going on? Has the producer regretted it? Hurry up and hurry up." He shouted very loudly, and his voice sounded not only unattractive, but also had a sense of obscenity. I don't know what Bei Wang liked in this man in the past. Bei Wang is only 21 this year, but Song Tiankai is already 37, a full 16 or 17 years older than her. Not to mention his age, he is still soft. Meal. In the plot, Song Tiankai didn't call Lily Wang to comfort her after she finished filming. Instead, he didn't answer the girl's call when she was sad and desperate. In the end, she turned off her phone directly. Lily Wang was so sad that she didn't know what to say. Who said she didn't have many friends, so she could only cry in isolation for a few days. Song Tiankai waited until she was done crying, then showed up and coaxed her, and then coaxed her obediently to take the film. The blood in Lily's throat surged back and forth, almost spurting out. She listened to Song Tiankai's anxious voice on the phone and interrupted him coldly. "What? I didn't hear it just now." The signal is not good. After she finished speaking, he hung up the phone immediately. In the past, hanging up the phone first was Song Tiankai's patent. If sometimes she accidentally hung up too early, he would not answer the phone when she called Song Tiankai again. Lily Wang had to keep calling him in person to coax him out. After changing her mind, as soon as Lily hung up the phone, her phone started ringing again. "Wang Bei, what's wrong with you? Please stop losing your temper, okay? I'm thinking about both of us." Song Tiankai seemed to be suppressing his anger and dissatisfaction forcibly at this moment. He probably also knew that his tone just wasn't very good. Deeply afraid of irritating this young and beautiful money spinner, so his voice became softer and softer. "Zia, isn't this for our future? Think about it, when we have money in the future, we can buy a beautiful home and regenerate. 2 children, a boy and a girl, the boy looks like me and the girl looks like you. I'm almost out of money, do you have anything else to say?" A vein popped out of Lily's forehead, she reminded him coldly, and hung up the phone again. After a while, the text message rang unexpectedly. She clicked on it and saw that her phone bill had been charged 100 yuan. In the past, Lily Wang was like a money tree, and Song Tiankai was like a brave man who only took money and never gave it out. Now he would recharge her phone bill. Lily couldn't help but feel dumbfounded and was really speechless. When Song Tiankai called again, she stopped answering. She was already tired from the day. She was new here and wanted to have a good rest, so she was too lazy to tell Song Tiankai more. This time, because she could not start practicing the 9-yang manual first, Lily planned to practice the Gu technique as well. She thought about the places in the capital where there were many snakes, insects, rats, and ants, and sadly discovered that it was the place she rented. Because cheap and dark things are the most attractive to these things, so after taking a rest one night, I started setting up some traps to collect bugs in the room with a flashlight the next day. One night passed. When Lily got up in the morning, she took the tin can to check how many bugs were inside. Suddenly there was a violent banging sound on the iron door. Lily Wang had no friends, so the only people who came to her at this time were Song Tiankai. She really couldn't think of anyone else. Sure enough, as soon as she opened the door, Song Tiankai, with red eyes, rushed in and reached out to grab her shoulder. Lily turned away and stared at the very embarrassed man in front of her with her head raised and frowning. "What are you going to do?" Her attitude was very cold, which made Song Tiankai suddenly stunned for a moment, and then he was furious when he came back to his senses. "Lily Wang, are you going crazy? You didn't film at all yesterday," he said. After saying that, he wanted to reach out and catch Lily again, but Lily moved down and avoided his hand. There were several steps at the entrance to the basement. As soon as she avoided Song Tiankai, who was standing at the door, he couldn't catch her at all, so she had to follow him down the stairs. He looked at the surroundings with some disgust, as if he was in prison. He said impatiently, "Ziahe, what's wrong with you? Didn't we agree? You will make money by filming, and we will buy a house in the future. You didn't film at all yesterday. I went to ask early this morning. The director also scolded me and kicked me out." Song Tiankai got angry when he thought of this. He really didn't expect that Lily Wang, who usually obeyed him, would rebel and not make a movie. He had already thought about how he would go out to celebrate with his Zhen after getting the 100,000 yuan. The two of them were going to have a party for 2 days to celebrate getting the money, but yesterday he waited and waited, but there was no sound of text messages when the money arrived, and there was no sound of Lily Wang calling him at all. Finally, Song Tiankai couldn't sit still. "I called immediately. I didn't do it, and I don't know how to do it." Lily nodded calmly, and seeing Song Tiankai looking like he was about to go crazy again, he sneered, "Actually, you can also go filming." I asked, "A man takes a film once 500, if you take 10 shots, you will get 5,000, if you take 100 shots, you will get 50,000. If you still think the money is small, you can make a duck first, and you can even sell your kidney. If you are in a hurry for money, I am not in a hurry anyway." Unfinished, to be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 113. Song Tiankai didn't have time to listen to Lily's previous words. He only heard the sentence that he was in urgent need of money. He didn't know whether it was because he was guilty of committing the crime or if Lily just said it accidentally. When he heard this, he instinctively felt uncomfortable for a while. When he turned around, after God understood what Lily said, he was a little angry. "What do you mean by being a duck first and then selling your kidney? Are you willing to let your beloved do such a thing and accompany other women? Then he is willing to give up?" Lily sneered, saying that she actually had nothing to say to such a person. When she saw Song Tiankai seemed to have remembered something, her eyes lit up. "Ziahe, why don't you sell your kidney? I'll find someone who needs it. It shouldn't be a problem to sell it for over 100,000 yuan. If you make another movie, we'll have 200,000 yuan. I don't know how Lily Wang found this kind of man who has brain problems and can't listen to what others say. He is simply a strange flower on the snow mountain. His attitude is so firm now, why does he think that he is willing to go for him?" During the filming, Lily opened the can of bugs she had just caught without thinking, and threw them at Song Tiankai. "Go away, pat your uncle, and pat yourself as much as you can." The bug was not made into a poison at the moment. It didn't bite, but it was disgusting. Especially for some people with trypophobia, it made goosebumps all over the body. Song Tiankai cursed a few words and reached out to pat the bug on his body, while cursing angrily. "How could you play with my feelings like this? I even recharged your phone bill with 100 yuan yesterday. It was okay if he didn't say this, but Lily became furious when he said this. Without thinking, she turned around and took out a diary from the suitcase on the bed. She wrote a few times with her pen. Lily Wang's luggage was very simple and she could tell where things were by just touching them. At this moment, Song Tiankai took a photo. Taking advantage of the opportunity, she wrote the note, grabbed Song Tiankai's hand, and stabbed his thumb hard with the tip of the pen. Printed it on paper. It hurts. Are you crazy? Song Tiankai was already furious at this moment. He didn't receive the 100,000 yuan he expected. Instead, he was cheated out of 100 yuan by this little bitch, Lily Wang. He didn't even have breakfast today. I went to the adult film company and asked about it when I had time to eat, and I spent a lot of money on the fare. He still took a taxi when he came to Lily. It would cost millions to divorce Zhen Zhen from the stumbling block that was currently standing in the way of their love. Song Tiankai wished he could break a penny in half and spend it, but now he couldn't bear to part with it after using some. He was not young anymore, and he was used to the life of relying on his reputation in the entertainment industry. Now I can't do anything else and I don't want to do anything else. After all, he had been a star in the past, but now his only source of income was Lily Wang. He had calculated that Lily Wang was young and beautiful, and if she made one movie for 20,000 yuan, 10 movies would be 200,000 yuan, and she only needed to make 50 movies. Then he can collect 1 million, and then he can not only divorce Zhen Zhen and her current husband. The two of them could still take the 100,000 yuan from Lily Wang's first night, plus the more than 20,000 yuan she gave herself, making a total of more than 100,000 yuan to fly away. But the imagination was wonderful at this moment. After not finding the money at all, Song Tiankai exploded. Just as he was about to get angry, Lily had already waved the note in her hand at him, "Get out now, or I will call the police. You lent me this an IOU of more than 70,000 yuan, what, do you have any objections?" For some reason, Lily gave Song Tiankai a very dangerous feeling at this moment. He instinctively took 2 steps back, clenching his hands into fists, and a look of embarrassment appeared on his face. Seeing that Lily was plotting against him to right after issuing the IOU, he coughed twice and roared. "What IOU? Didn't you give it to me for love? Now you want to regret it? I have seen your true face clearly, Lily. I am really sad and uncomfortable. Since you look at me like this, don't come to me again in the future. I won't admit that there is any IOU." He knew Lily Wang's character. The more he told her not to come to him, the more likely she would be reluctant to let go of this first love. Song Tiankai sneered as he left the basement, feeling very proud. He straightened his shirt collar. Crazy, seeing Song Tiankai's back walking away triumphantly, Lily narrowed her eyes. The basement she rented was very cheap at the time because it was dark and lightless. She usually paid the entire year's rent directly at the beginning of the year, and then paid it again the next year. She has rented this place for several years, so the landlord trusts her. Besides, this place is dark and humid, with almost nothing to damage. There is no air conditioning and no furniture, except for a small single bed, and outside the cupboard, there was only a water pipe and a simple toilet, and the landlord was not afraid that she would need to compensate for damage. Calculating the time, it had only been 2 or 3 months since the rent had been paid, and it would be more than half a year before the next rent payment. Lily settled down and prepared to catch bugs and make them into goo, and then find a job to support herself. Own. After Song Tiankai said those harsh words that day, he found out that Lily was no longer looking for him, and he couldn't help but feel cheated. He gritted his teeth and endured it for 2 days, holding the phone in his hand all the time, waiting for Lily to call him. Unexpectedly, the little girl named Wang seemed to be cruel this time and really stopped contacting him. Could it be that she pushed him too hard that day? Song Tiankai reflected on himself and discussed with Wang Huijin whether he should really give Lily some sweetness before she would be willing to obey. He endured it for another half-month, and finally couldn't sit still. He was used to taking money from Lily Wang before, but now Leng Hui suddenly had no one to pay attention to him, and Song Tiankai was also anxious. She had just applied for a job as a chef and was getting ready first. After packing up and going out, she saw Song Tiankai standing by the door holding a rose. Lily's face turned dark. Seeing such a disgusting person so early in the morning simply affected her mood throughout the day. Although she has done several missions, this is the first time she has seen a bitch like Song Tiankai. No matter who he is in her mission, he looks much better than Song Tiankai. Such a wretched old man is also. I don't know how Lily Wang fell in love with him before and was willing to sacrifice for him to this extent. When Lily saw Song Tiankai now, she didn't give him a good look and snorted coldly. A good dog stays out of the way. Wang Beihe, what's the matter with you? Are you really not afraid that I will dump you? Song Tiankai saw that he had come to wait for her early in the morning and wanted to give her a surprise. Lily opened her mouth and said that she was a dog, and he suppressed his thoughts. With anger, he followed Lily. You also know that I asked you to shoot that film, and I was really heartbroken, but wasn't it for our future? Why don't you do it while you are young now? Will you only be willing to do it when you are old? No one will look for you by then. Don't worry, you're so old and you're still as blind as I used to be. I'm 100 times prettier than you. Are you afraid that no one will like me? Lily heard that Song Tiankai hadn't given up yet and couldn't help but look him up and down. She snorted coldly, if you don't get out of the way, do you believe you are going to the hospital today? The 9-yin manual is much faster to practice than the 9-yang manual. I don't know if the basement she rented was originally convenient. Due to the cold and damp conditions, she was even more prepared to practice with half the effort. Although she might not be able to beat a real master in the past month, it was enough to take down Song Tiankai. Thinking of this, she held her bag tighter, grabbed Song Tiankai's hair and started to greet him. I didn't expect that this woman would be so cruel, and would beat her whenever she asked. Song Tiankai had been emptied out of his body after years of playing games to retaliate against society. Now he was beaten until he was crying for his father and mother. There were people passing by at work around him. Yes, when they saw this scene, they turned around to look. Song Tiankai shouted sadly, "Help!" There were also kind people who wanted to come over, so Lily glanced at these people. Personal grudges have nothing to do with others. Otherwise, whoever wants to help this bitch, don't blame my men for being ruthless. She said it was Song Tiankai who was crying like a ghost, and Lily Wang was originally. He has a very pure face, but now he has a cold and ruthless expression, which is actually quite gorgeous. Looking at Song Tiankai, although he has tidied up neatly, he is still quite young after all. Someone also looked at the crushed roses under Lily's feet. And then thinking about the personal grudges she mentioned, they all wondered whether Song Tiankai had deceived Lily's feelings, so he was retaliated by the beauty at this moment. Thinking about this, there were more people watching the excitement, and fewer people came to help Song Tiankai. Song Diki was beaten until Song Diki lay on the ground and groaned uncontrollably. Lily shook her hair, picked up her bag again, calmly straightened her appearance, and then walked towards her workplace. She didn't know that she was leaving. At this time, the last one was called, "A beautiful woman beats a strong man, what is the secret behind it?" But the posts began to circulate. There were pictures and the truth on them. Thanks to Lily Wang's good looks and figure, she quickly became popular on the internet. She went to the hotel to apply for a job as a chef. With the second-level cooking skills in her information, Lily easily passed the test. She also had a stable job, but she had not been happy for 2 days, and no one usually looked for her. But the cell phone rang. "Wang Beihe, come to the company at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning," a loud voice rang impatiently. After saying this, He hung up again. The word company was written on it. Only then did Lily remember that the original owner seemed to be she signed with a talent agency. Although she didn't know why the agency came to her now, she thought about her dream of becoming a star and couldn't help but frown with a headache. She asked for leave from the hotel the next day. When Lily came to the company, the person who called her yesterday had an ugly expression when he saw her. "Why are you here dressed like this again?" Originally, Lily Wan couldn't help but ask for leave. Popular, she has a very stubborn personality. Such a person simply cannot get away in the entertainment industry. She is not tactful and cannot please others. She has a beautiful face but cannot climb to the top according to company arrangements, and refuses to do so. Giving people a little taste of sweetness will naturally make her tepid. If she hadn't become quite famous this time, the company wouldn't have wanted to find her. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 114. The person named Sister Lu was allowed to curse all the way, and when she got on the elevator and came to the door of a white room, Sister Lu knocked on the door. "What are you doing here?" Thinking of the many times in his memory that the company wanted to be a pimp to find clients for him, plus the unbearable environment on the first day of the mission, the hairs on Lily's back stood up, and she stared at Lu coldly. "Sister?" asked, and Sister Lu was startled by the cold look in her eyes. When she recovered, she shouted, "Shut up! This is a good opportunity. If you dare to waste it, you will always wait for Shuezang." This threatening tone did not frighten Lily much. She was already hidden in the snow. In fact, if it weren't for the original owner's wish, she would never have entered the circle and was threatened by Sister Lu. But at this time Lily still closed his mouth and made no sound. The door inside quickly opened, and a young man with long hair showed his head. Ever since she saw the curly-haired director that day, Lily felt a shadow in her heart. She instinctively clenched her fists, but inside she was shouting, "Come in? Who's the next interviewer?" There were 7 or 8 people sitting in the room, both men and women, all wearing clothes. Lily was inexplicably relieved and was brought in by Sister Lu. Her back was straight. Sitting in the middle was a man who was about 40 years old. The man with a medium build and a somewhat impatient expression lit up his eyes when he saw Lily. "I didn't expect that your company would still have good prospects. This is Director N Jiao, a well-known director in China. If our boss hadn't had a personal relationship with Mr. N, you wouldn't have had such an opportunity." Sister Lu smiled on the surface. Gritting her teeth, she whispered quickly into Lily's ear. When she heard the name N Jiao, Lily finally felt relieved. She did know Director N Jiao. He was very well known in China and even abroad. The point of this director is not to make erotic films, but to make serious blockbusters, although I don't understand why he would let himself participate in the casting. But when she knew she wasn't the one who made that kind of film, Lily still breathed a sigh of relief, with a smile on her face. "Hello, Director." And seeing that she finally smiled, Sister Lu also let go of her worries. In fact, if the company wasn't too small, there wouldn't be anyone who could do anything. In addition, Lily is quite famous recently, so she actually won't let Lily come over. But fortunately, Director N is a famously strict director. He only chooses people based on their acting skills and whether they feel suitable. There will be no such thing. If something bad happens, he is not afraid that Lily Wang will offend someone because of it. That's why he had the courage to call Lily over. But when I think about Lily's acting skills, she has no formal training at all. Sister Lu was a little worried again. This movie is from the Republic of China period. The heroine is a childhood sweetheart with the male protagonist, but due to an accident, she was forced to separate from the male protagonist after her whole family was wiped out. A young man wearing glasses stood next to him. The plot began to be explained, and Lily felt a little weird. This plot seemed to have entered her previous mission. She didn't make a sound, and just listened quietly. You are now playing a person with an originally cold personality, girl. You and the heroine were originally very good sisters, but they were separated during the war. You were deceived by the second male lead, and you loved the first male lead wholeheartedly, but you didn't dare to say it because of your sister. In the end, in order to save the male lead, he died under the pistol of the second male lead. After briefly telling the plot of the story, director Nan nodded. Try the look on your face when you watch the second male lead cheating you out of money and sex. When Lily heard this, she perked up. She might not be sure about other things, but when it came to letting her show that she had been cheated out of money, there was no need to perform. This was a real performance. She thought of Lily Wang's sadness and despair in the original plot, and the scene when she finally jumped from the building. Her expression suddenly changed, her eyes showed despair and sadness, tears flowed down involuntarily, and she took 2 steps forward. Some whispered and seemed to be shouting uncontrollably, "Why did you lie to me? Why did you lie to me?" The second male lead is a ruthless villain and the culprit who caused the couple to become lovers. Because his true love is the female lead, he has done many unscrupulous things to separate the two. Lily is going to try it today. The relationship between the character played by Jing and him is full of hatred and seems to have countless entangled plots. It is not pure love, but like a kind of destroyed innocence. That feeling can only be understood but cannot be expressed. Director An originally thought that coming here today was just a waste of time. He wanted to give face to his old friend who had helped him before and just come over for a casual visit. However, he did not expect to get such a good seedling all at once. Lily's performance was not. She acted like she was the second female lead, Chiao Yukio. "Okay. It's you." Director An clapped his hands and stared at Lily with his eyes as if they were shining brightly. "You pack up and meet at the airport in about 3 days because Chiao Yukio is the second female lead. Sometimes her role is even higher than that of the lead female lead, because the lead female lead has been hiding in the shadows since she wanted to take revenge. Most of the time, her appearance relies on building momentum, that is, the supporting actress Chiao Yukio is used to highlight her presence. Come on, this is undoubtedly a test of your skills, but it is also an excellent opportunity. Every play directed by An is a masterpiece. As long as you have a relationship with director An, let alone being the second female lead, you are just a soy sauce. The role is enough to give people face." Lily happily wiped away her tears and thanked Sister Lu. She used to be a country girl who didn't know anything, but now she was a bit more humane and sophisticated. This surprised Sister Lu and told her to go home. After taking a good rest and recuperating, he sent Lily away. Once she finds a job, after all, completing her acting is the most important part of her life. No matter what, being involved with director An's new play proves that she is only one step away from fulfilling Lily Wang's wish. Lily Wang is just she wants to be a star that many people know, and she doesn't say how big of a star she wants to become. She should also know how difficult it is, so as long as she finishes filming this movie, her future tasks will be much easier. So Lily quit her job in the restaurant without hesitation. She tasted good in cooking. In the past 2 days, she had a regular customer base in the store, and some of them wanted to eat her cooking. The manager stayed for 2 days and met her. Lily was determined and had no choice but to give up. 3 days later, I packed my luggage and followed director An and his entourage on the plane to the filming destination. This film has been in preparation for 5 years, but it is officially launching at this moment. The first and second male lead are both long-established big names. An out-and-out veteran, even the second male lead is a popular star idol. She has filmed TV movies and won almost countless awards. Stars can be seen twinkling everywhere in the entire troupe, but she is the only one. She is a familiar face, but Lily has lived many more lives because of her mission. She has no stage fright at all, but she has a kind of coolness similar to Chiao Yukio in the play. The second female lead is like a fallen leaf in the autumn wind, with a pure face and a bit of coldness, as if she is alienated from the world. From this point of view, Lily is actually very qualified. She is like Xiao who walked out of the plot. Like Xiu, and more importantly, she has a temperament that is very suitable for a lady of the Republic of China. When she wears the clothes of the Republic of China, she is even more conspicuous than the leading lady. Like someone who came out of that century, with a cold temperament and melancholy. Director N was naturally overjoyed. Lily's temperament was adequate and her appearance was the winner. However, her acting skills, which she had honed over several lifetimes, were still a bit inferior to those of the professionals in front of her. It was quite difficult to shoot, but fortunately she diligent, after returning to her temporary hotel every day, she hardly rested and made various expressions in front of the mirror. After half a month, she was able to match up with these big-name celebrities. With such efforts, the filming process it went very smoothly, and her scenes were filmed in 4 months. If it weren't for the fact that some of her scenes required filming, and director N was stubborn and refused to use the scenes, her scenes would have been filmed long ago. In order to prevent the money from the crew from going directly to the scumbag Song Tiankai, she directly called the agency first. This time, director N's crew was a big production. Although he insisted on appointing some newcomers, many investors were dissatisfied. But because director N is well known, many people are very optimistic about this movie. Some company investors came to see Lily's performance and found that it was very pertinent, so they had no objections. TV with large production costs means rich and powerful. After returning to the imperial capital, when holding the 300,000 yuan that she had just received, Lily couldn't help but smile happily. She didn't care about money, but after living in the basement for a while, it was dark all day long. Lily found that it was not difficult to have no money, so the first thing she did after getting the money was to rent a small apartment and pay the bills. I didn't have time to buy some sheets and other items. As soon as I turned on my mobile phone, which had been turned off for nearly 5 months, I couldn't wait to get through the call. Hello, Lily frowned when she saw the unfamiliar phone number and asked again. The person on the other end probably couldn't believe that the call was connected. After a long while, Song Tiankai's roar rang. Wang Beihe, where did you go? Where have you been in the past few months? I thought you were dead. Your parents came to Beijing to look for you. You should contact them yourself, we haven't seen each other for more than 4 months. Song Tiankai has now seen that Lily must want to separate from him. He was not willing to give in at first, and would go to the basement to wait for a long time, but he did not see anyone for a long time, and he could not contact Lily's people. In the past, he only wanted to defraud Lily Wang of her money and didn't care about anything about her. He just kept the phone number of Lily Wang's parents' hometown. After he couldn't find Lily Wang this time, he was unwilling to lose such a person. A money spinner, he tricked Wang Beihe's parents into coming to the capital with some nonsense. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 115. After deceiving the Wang family and his wife, Song Tiankai thought that Lily would show up for the sake of his parents. Unexpectedly, Lily went to another place to film a movie. At this time, he didn't know about it at all. Naturally, he couldn't find her anywhere. Song Tiankai thought that this was the case. None of the tricks worked. After luring the couple to come to Kyoto, he told them that something might have happened to Lily Wang and left them alone in Shangjing. A couple who came from the countryside to look for their daughter were exhausted from looking for Lily. They were panicked and scared all day long. They didn't have much money, and they were reluctant to spend it. They also wanted to stay and look for their daughter, so they slept together for the time being. I have been living under the overpass for almost half a year, scavenging for scraps all day long, and spending money to post small advertisements looking for my daughter from time to time. I have been crying until I am almost blind. When Lily knew the truth, her balls ached even if she didn't have them. She scolded Song Tiankai, a bastard, in her heart. It took her half a month to finally find the Wang family couple. In the memory in the plot, although the Wang family and his wife were born in a small village, they lived an ordinary and down-to-earth life. Now when they see the unkempt Wang family and their wife, and now they see them picking up unfinished milk tea and drinking it, Renbei has done many missions, and her heart can almost be said to have calmed down. Seeing such a scene, she still couldn't help but feel her heart skip a beat. "Dad, Mom," she shouted loudly. Wang's father, who was tying up cardboard under the overpass, was stunned subconsciously. He turned back and glanced at Lily. Today, Lily's outfit is planned by her own company, so this at the moment, it looks like a shotgun has changed. Her long, smooth, straight hair looks natural, but in fact it has been taken care of and trimmed. Well proportioned. It perfectly showed off the features of her small face. Adds to the charm. The royal father was a little stunned at first, and then became very excited. The queen mother burst into tears and shouted, "My daughter!" The family burst into tears at first. When they saw their daughter wearing a beautiful new dress, the queen mother looked at her dirty hands and old clothes and did not dare to touch her. Lily insisted that they pack their things and take them with her. Go back. At first, the king's father was a little reluctant to part with the rags he had picked up, but seeing his daughter's insistence, he gave the things to the scavengers living nearby, and happily followed Lily with the things he brought from his hometown. Although Lily chose the house to rent, it was actually paid for by the company. Therefore, she rented the house in a place where she liked the location and the shape of the house. The room was very large at the time. Director and made it clear after filming. He praised Behi as a very good actor. This praise was a very weighty compliment for many big-name celebrities, so the company now treated her like a cash cow. He was very cautious and treated her naturally and appropriately. Not only did they have an agent, but they also had an assistant. Now it would not be a problem for most of the rooms to be occupied by the Wang family and his wife. The arrangements were quickly made. After washing up, Wang's father put on the clothes that the assistant had bought for them, feeling embarrassed. She sat on the sofa, looking like she wanted to ask her daughter but didn't dare to speak. The couple responded to the policy and gave birth to only one daughter, so they loved the only girl very much. Seeing this, Lily thought of Lily Wang's wish and said directly, "Mom and Dad, I am rich now. I hope you can live with me in the city and give me a chance to honor you. I have been filming in other places for the past 6 months. I originally wanted to contact you again when I come back. I didn't expect you to come here first." The reason why she didn't call the Wangs and his wife before going out was because there was only one phone number in Xiaoshan village, and it didn't belong to the Wangs, but to the village committee office. If she could call, it's not good to have more people. I thought I would call them and ask them to come to Beijing after I got back. I didn't expect that shameless villain Song Tiankai to find them and come to Beijing and ignore them. Then, that Mr. Song. The Queen Mother is a country girl and has her own opinions on many things. She wanted to ask her daughter some questions, but it was difficult to ask, so after saying this, she subconsciously turned her head to look. A glance at the husband. That's a shameless villain. He wanted to coax me to make a Category 3 film before. When Lily said this, the agents who were listening with a smile were startled. When she finished telling the whole story, the Wang family and his wife were very angry. She was trembling all over. Her agent was Sister Lu, who had called her to the company for the first time. When she heard this, she said anxiously, "What happened next? Did you take the photo?" "No, I just left, but I took off my clothes. Lily shook her head. Sister Lou's face changed for a while, and she gritted her teeth after a while. This damn Song Tiankai is really not a thing. Fortunately, you didn't ruin it. Otherwise, how can I explain it to the company? Such a matter is also a big deal, so Sister Lou quickly called to report it. After being scolded, the matter was handed over to the company for resolution. 2 or 3 months passed, and Song Tiankai did not appear again. On the contrary, the movie titled Republic of China was completed 3 months later and has begun to enter the promotion period. On the poster, Lily's innocent and weak new face is completely different from her temperament. The face aroused great interest from everyone. It is well known that director Ren loves to make blockbusters, but he has never made a rash decision to cast new actors before. This is the first time he has made such a decision in more than 10 years of making films. For this reason, the Republic of China Fenjian Weibo became popular first, and the same Lily also became popular, including a video of her beating Song Tiankai before she became famous on the internet, and a photo of her walking on the road with her bare white legs. It was broadcast. The other main actors in the Storm of the Republic of China are all very popular figures. The one who benefited from working with such figures was Lily. Her past and famous experiences were being aired on the internet for several days, and her fans gradually became more and more popular. The number of movies started to increase, until the day when the Republic of China was officially launched. A miracle happened at the box office. The sales in China exceeded 1 billion on the first day. The works of great directors are already attractive, plus there are so many stars here. Fans have been looking forward to it for a long time, and this time they can really see it with their own eyes. Many people came out excited, but came out crying. The show was so popular that it was hard to get a ticket, and major movie theaters had to temporarily add many shows. To the surprise of many who were waiting to see the joke, the newcomer Lily was the best performer among them. When she died in the arms of the leading actor, there were cries in the cinema. Her fans took the initiative to set up an official website for her. Overnight, the name Bai Wang became the search headlines of major websites. Many people left messages asking director Ren to make a sequel and make sure to film the touching story between Lily Wang and the male protagonist Lu Hanlin. On the contrary, the heroine was left aside. Lily's agency was almost breached in a few days. Paparazzi came to ambush, and girls who wanted to apply to be stars came in droves. The boss of the company was almost so happy that he laughed all day long. The movie is still being aired. Sister Lou has arranged an announcement for Lily 2 days ago. It is her duty to work with the movie team to promote it. This time she will appear on a popular domestic ace variety show. When the host saw Lily, he playfully asked her to sign her autograph, and even called her Yukio one after another. She looked like a little fan, which aroused everyone's laughter. While the conversation was getting interesting, the host suddenly changed the subject. With a look of regret on his face. Ms. Yukio, someone in the industry once revealed that you once desperately wanted to make an intimate R-rated film for money. Is this true? Suddenly the host stopped talking and asked with a smile. After saying this, everyone was stunned for a moment. Director Ren, who was originally smiling, looked a little ugly. He is senior in the industry and has many connections. He doesn't like such dirty things happening in his movies. If it is just some innocuous little thing, it can increase the popularity of the movie, thereby making the movie better at the box office, but this kind of words is obviously ugly. When slandering the actors he chose, director Ren is the most defensive. At this moment, his expression has changed. It looked very ugly. The host was also secretly complaining. Who let the people above know that Miss Wang, who is now very popular, was very interested in this episode. For the sake of ratings, he had to ask him about the aura of director Ren at this moment. When he got stronger and stronger, making him a little embarrassed, Lily asked with a cold face, "I won't explain." In this case, it just depends on when the reporter thinks the videos I have shot will be broadcast. She didn't film it at all, even after she went to the company, she didn't make it. The worst she could do was threaten the curly guy afterwards, but he wouldn't have the guts to tell the truth unless he died. Thinking of this, the look in Lily's eyes became calmer, and she didn't feel scared or panicked at all. Director and Lily had spent some time together on the set. They were a little cold and very hard-working, but to everyone's surprise, she doesn't have any bad character. There are many big names in her industry. She doesn't try to please her, nor does she do any messy things just because of her status. This makes director and rarely have a good impression of her. You know, this is one of them. The female protagonists have thought about coming to him late at night to discuss the plot. This alone is enough for director and to speak for Lily. Is this a hint that I should cast Lily for my next film? Or maybe this little girl has a diversified acting career and thinks I haven't brought out all of her strengths yet. He has been in the industry for many years, and what kind of storms have he not experienced? I've seen it. Now I'm determined to protect someone. When I say it, I quickly make it right. I have a famous fan base and a huge fan base. Recently, I have been chanted by a large number of people who have turned from Lu to be with Yichu. The male protagonist spoke. If Ziahe wants to become famous, what other movies can he make? All he needs to do is come to me. Now we are where everyone expects him to be. As soon as he said this, the actress playing the heroine next to him smiled awkwardly. Got up. She was originally the leading female lead, but now she has been robbed of her glory by the second leading female lead and can only succumb to Lily. Now the male protagonist is making jokes about Lily, which makes her really embarrassed and angry. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 116. The two of them defended Lily one after another, and their identities and backgrounds were all things they couldn't afford to offend. Director and even said that Lily would be the protagonist in the next film. You know, if you can film director and's film, it can be said to be a fight. He may not be able to appreciate fame even if he squeezes his head out of it, but now he actually looks at Lily with such special eyes. The host had no choice but to laugh dryly and bring the topic to a close. As soon as the variety show was over, Lily changed her clothes, pulled up her hair, got a baseball cap and put it on. After separating from director and others, she smiled at Sister Lu. I have to go out beforehand. Lily is not the newbie she was when she first arrived at the company. She is now extremely popular and the entire company is supported by her. The big boss even laughs with her when he sees her. Sister Lu naturally does not dare to care where she goes. I had to give a weak advice. Some people may gossip after this episode is broadcast. Why don't you go home for a while and let the company handle it? Lily shook her head and picked up her bag, which contained the treasures she had collected over the past 6 months, a dozen or so formed goo worms. If used in front of the original Lan Yu, they would naturally be vulnerable, but in modern times where everything has degraded, the goo insect she made crudely was already killing people invisible. It is Lily Wang's dream to become a star and be liked by others, and she will never tolerate anyone destroying it. Fortunately, she is practicing the 9 Yin manual at the moment, which focuses on martial arts rather than internal strength. If it is explained in terms of ordinary travel professions, the 9 Yang manual seems to be mainly about defense against internal force, and the 9 Yin manual is attack. She had already found out the identity of curly hair. Go right into his home. At first this man looked fierce. After Lily fed him a worm and let him taste the excruciating pain, he calmed down with a look of fear on his face. Did you take pictures of my belt? Lily crossed her legs and sat on the sofa at Chang Curly's house. Chang Curly, who was pale and sweating profusely, knelt in front of her, crying with snot and tears. No, eldest sister, you didn't turn around at the beginning, not to mention, you are still a newcomer. You have not entered the situation, you have just taken off your clothes, and the funds are tight. How can I dare to waste time on you, he explained to Lily for a long time. He just didn't believe it, and he actually ate a worm for her. The thought of it made him feel both disgusted and scared at the same time. What scared Chang Curly the most was that when the worm was eaten into his stomach, he seemed to be able to feel something burrowing in his internal organs. Usually, when Lily clapped his hands, he would feel a terrible pain in his stomach. In that case, show me the film. If what you say is true, you can live. If it is false, haha, the bugs will break through your blood vessels and burrow in and out of your flesh. My whole body is riddled with holes and I'll die, he threatened Chang Curly, but fearing that he wouldn't believe it, he signaled for the bug to come out from the back of his hand. Chang Curly saw with his own eyes a long and thin bag bulging out from the back of his hand, which he had just eaten. I was afraid that the insect that was less than 2 centimeters long suddenly turned into 3 centimeters. I was so scared that I peed. I felt a sharp pain on the back of my hand and blood started to flow out. I came back to my senses. I hurriedly turned on my computer and gave it to Lily. Look. There were a few familiar faces there, including the face of the man who pressed on her that day. Indeed, it was also in the room. Her section shook for a moment and she pointed, "Cut it off. If anyone sees any traces, you can do it, go to hell." Chang Curly cried until he had snot and tears. After cleaning him up, Lily stood up to leave. Chang Curly wanted to ask her about bugs but didn't dare to ask, so he sent Lily away as if he was sending off an uncle. In this way, everyone in the room that day was either restrained or fed with bugs. Lily was relieved. That day, whether it was the photographer or the men and women performing inside, they were all done. They were sure to ask the question at Chang Curly's place. There was no mistake in the list of people who arrived, and after ticking off the figures of the people in the video, and ticking off the last person who had threatened, Lily then found the direction of home and quietly went back. The variety show recorded that day was actually aired in advance that day. When Lily was booming, this news shocked everyone. Some were disappointed and some were defending their idols. Both sides were scolding each other. Early the next morning, Song Tiankai, who had disappeared for a long time, called in triumphantly, "Zia-he, let's get back together. I still love you. You see, there are so many bad news for you, but I am still willing to stand by your side. I do you like you. How many credits did you get for filming the Republic of China? You are also a little confused. You don't care about anything all day long. I didn't see your money being transferred to my card. Did director know you? Is it ready?" Lily didn't work the next day. Because of yesterday's scandal, the company had a rare day off. When she heard Song Tiankai's voice, she couldn't help laughing, as if she thought she didn't know that Song Tiankai was responsible for this. It seemed that he was busy with other tasks some time ago and had no time to deal with this bitch, so he dragged him up. This time he just asked for leave from the company and dealt with Song Tiankai and Wang Huijin. She was so distracted that she didn't say anything. Song Tiankai only heard laughter again, and he couldn't help but become even more intoxicated. He lowered his voice and stopped, and when he was about to make a magnetic tone again, Lily had already said in a cold voice, "Who is it? Wrong typing, the phone is off, I don't know you." After saying that, he hung up the phone. In less than a blink of an eye, the phone rang again, and it was still the same number. Song Tiankai was gritting his teeth now. After answering the phone, he suppressed his anger and said, "I'm Song Tiankai, your boyfriend. Have you forgotten? Zia-he, don't forget. I have evidence when you go to film. Are you not afraid of me talking nonsense now? Whatever you want, who cares about what happened before death anyway? Lily has already dealt with the subsequent events. Song Tiankai can't make trouble at all. It's no use even if he has 100 mouths. What's more, the company boss is not stupid. If he can still let Song Tiankai make trouble when he is obviously helpful to him now, Lily doesn't believe that the big boss has such a good character. Being able to open an entertainment company in this part of the capital definitely requires some means. Song Tiankai was a has-been star, and when the time came, she couldn't eat mutton and made her look coquettish. She happened to be able to retaliate easily. After saying it was okay with Song Tiankai, He hung up the phone again and added the number to the blacklist. As expected, Song Tiankai had already appeared on the TV station that day. He appeared as Lily Wang's boyfriend, so he was called he was frothing at the mouth, saying how deeply he loved Lily Wang and how much he liked Lily Wang. Unexpectedly, she would not recognize anyone now that she was famous, and someone also recognized him as the one who was beaten violently by Lily. For a moment, the news that he was Lily's boyfriend seemed to be confirmed. Some fans who hoped that the hero of the Republic of China and Lily would be together felt hurt and began to attack Lily desperately, with curses everywhere. It seemed that someone had hired someone to scold Lily behind the scenes, and the wind seemed to have turned to Song Tiankai's side. But in less than 2 days, it was revealed on the internet that Song Tiankai had played with women in the past, including that he was in 2 different situations during his relationship with Wang Beihe, and one of them was a married woman. More importantly, someone revealed that the $1 million agreement between him and Wang Huijin, which was to save 1 million in order to be together, naturally also implicated Song Tiankai in cheating Wang Lily of money. Lily rested at home for a few days. When she turned on the TV, she saw that all the major TV stations were broadcasting this incident. A reporter said with sadness and indignation, "Our Miss Yukio's reputation has been so slandered." It was Mr. Song who first broke the news that Miss Yukio was filming banned films, and the reason was that he wanted to sell Miss Jiao Yukio's first night rights to adult producers at a high price. Company, and he took 100,000 yuan to make an appointment with his old lover. As soon as the news came out, Song Tiankai was like a rat crossing the street, and even Wang Huijin began to be searched for human flesh. Every day, he received harassing calls and threats at home. Song Tiankai he was beaten several times inexplicably, and now he doesn't even dare to go out, like a frightened bird. Fans felt very sorry when they thought that they had misunderstood their idol before. Taking advantage of this moment, the agency began to ask Lily to come forward for filming. She still had a 2-year contract with the agency. The agency did not expect that she would sign it. "This is such a cash cow. I only thought it was a walk-on, so I only signed a 5-year contract. Now more than 3 years have passed. During the remaining period, the company wants to get the money back. By the way, please ask." Lily continued to renew the contract. But Lily still asked for half a month's leave from the company. She spent a few days changing her appearance and finding a private detective. Although she didn't have the skills to disguise herself, she had been seen in major Jianghu dramas before. She has experienced a lot, and she is just doing it now. In addition, because she has martial arts, it is easy for people to not see the truth from the false. Although some of the internal skills and mental methods of the 9 Yang manual are unclear, most of them are. However, she remembered all her martial arts skills, one of which was the bone shrinking skill. Now as long as she changed her appearance and body, she was absolutely sure that no one would recognize her. I asked a private detective to find 2 beautiful women who were infected with AIDS. There are many such women, many of whom were infected for various reasons, just like Lily Wang in the plot. After the private detective found the person, Lily paid 50,000 yuan to let the 2 men seduce Song Tiankai separately until he got sick. Such a request is not weird and excessive. Maybe the man named Song Tiankai has offended someone else. The 2 women saw the money, and they were also infected with the disease, so they had the idea of revenge. Lily was no stranger to this feeling because she had accepted the thoughts of the original owner, so by persuading and adding money, it was easy for the 2 women to agree without hesitation. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 117. Lily handed the money to them first, and she was not afraid that the two women would go back on their word. She had many ways to make life worse than death for these two women. If the two women went back on their word, they would definitely die miserably. And she is not afraid of revealing her identity. After all, even the Wang family and his wife may not be able to recognize her change now, and absolutely no one can recognize that the tall and strong woman in front of her is the popular star Lily. More than 2 months later, the two women arrived at the place where they met last time in advance as promised, and handed Lily a test sheet. It was the result of the test that they secretly took Song Tiankai's bodily fluids. It already showed Song Tiankai successfully contracted the virus. He didn't feel anything at the moment. By the time he found out, it was already very serious. Thinking of this, Lily smiled and nodded. The two women completed their mission, took the money and left Shangjing. When Song Tiankai noticed something was wrong again, his body had begun to show strangeness. At this time, Bei also took on a fairy tale movie. She is one of the male protagonist's junior sisters. It can be said that she is the goddess of everyone in the sect where the male protagonist belongs. She is the kind of person who does not eat the fireworks of the world. She has a crush on the male protagonist at the beginning. The main character, but the male protagonist is destined to be with the second female lead. The lingering love and the eye-catching combination of handsome men and beautiful women are the highlights of this drama. When it was broadcast 2 years later, this movie became popular again after the storm of the Republic of China. It can almost be said that it occupies the top row of the entire ratings list. Lily has that kind of cold fairy spirit, especially Lily Wang's pure appearance, which makes her cold temperament appear to be a bit otherworldly. The two roles she plays seem to be made for her. It's custom-made, especially since she has martial arts skills. When filming the fairy tale drama, I was already very good at it. In addition, she works day and night to hone her acting skills. Later in the filming, I integrated all my thoughts into the TV. With these two dramas, Lily quickly joined the ranks of first-line actresses, and her fans are getting more and more. In fact, Lily is not a good temper, but people who like her just like her direct character. In the eyes of her fans, her original bad temper and occasionally tactless way of dealing with things have become a representative of cuteness, and as her status soared, she became a symbol of cuteness. She is completely different from her former self now. The contract with the company is about to expire. Sister Lu and others are very nervous, as if they really want to ask her to sign the contract, but they are afraid that she will be unhappy. But in fact, Lily has no intention of continuing to sign the contract. She is not ready to sign anymore. Filming started. In fact, she didn't like the feeling of being in the limelight at all. She was afraid that if she got used to being in the limelight, she might fail miserably in future tasks, so she was not prepared to renew her contract. She is not planning to sign another contract, but the company wants to squeeze out her remaining value. Therefore, she was asked to take on another interstellar future movie after Xiangxia TV. Thanks to Lily, the scale of her company has already expanded. The company has made a lot of money from her in the past 2 years. Because of her reputation in China, this drama is a collaboration with a well-known foreign director. The great director thought she had some oriental magical qualities, so he asked her to film the film. It is conceivable that her reputation will continue to rise after this movie. The company has been nervous about this matter for a long time. When Sister Lu and others were also worried, an unexpected thing happened. There has been a strange man walking back and forth outside the villa since last night, and he did not leave until this morning. When he was caught, he actually said that he was Lily's boyfriend. Because the matter was so important, this big star in the company has never been involved in scandals. It happened, her reputation was so good, it was the first time she heard someone say that he was her boyfriend. Sister Lu didn't know what was going on, so she brought the person back. It had been more than 2 years. When she heard Song Tiankai's disgusting voice again, goosebumps appeared all over Lily's body. She looked at Song Tiankai, who was already much older, and took off the belt on his face. He was wearing a mask. His face was covered with red pimples, many of which had suppurated. He was so thin that only skin and bones were left on his face. In addition, he was already old and suffering from illness, so he certainly didn't look good. When he took off his mask, Sister Lu was startled and pushed Lily back 2 steps. "Ziahe, I'm here to get back together with you." Song Tiankai stepped forward anxiously and wanted to talk to Lily. He knew that Lily liked him, but now he was really desperate. He had no money and was infected with AIDS. The pain caused by the decline of the body's immune system may be just a common cold that can kill him. He has no ability to make a living. He can't help but spend the money he defrauded from Lily. After his death, Wang Huijin also hated him to death because of the illness. The two of them bickered and fought all day long, and there was no longer the love and tacit understanding they had at the beginning. At this moment, Song Tiankai remembered that Lily Wang was such a fool. Although he knew that Lily had now become a household name, he knew how deeply Lily Wang loved him, so he was very confident that as long as he appeared in Lily, she will definitely be happy in front of him. He has never heard of her falling in love in these years. Song Tiankai felt that she must not forget him, so he tried his best to find her address and found her. "Now look," he looked at Lily and said affectionately. "In the days without you, my heart has been aching, but now that you have become famous, I dare not come to you for fear of delaying your future." Song Tiankai gushed about his deep love for Lily. Love, but when he saw Lily looking at him with a crazy look on his face, he suddenly couldn't bear it. "Lily, have you changed your mind?" In fact, the two of them never started dating, not to mention that after coming to this world, I had made it very clear that this scumbag should not come to me again. He did not show up for more than 2 years, and now he said that he had changed his mind as soon as he came out. Sister Lu and others may have long forgotten the third-rate male star named Song Tiankai. After all, Song Tiankai has never been popular. It is difficult for such a person to be remembered in this era when star idols are on the verge of emerging. "Sister Lu, have you forgotten that Song Tiankai who slandered me for making a Category 3 film?" Lily kindly reminded her. Sister Lu was confused at the beginning and then suddenly realized. That incident was quite a big deal at the time. At this moment, Sister Lu naturally became very angry when she thought about it. Cursing the security guard guarding the door fiercely, she took something and started to chase Song Tiankai. Lily smiled and said, "Sister Lu, please be careful. I see that his complexion is sallow and weak. He has so many acne on his face at such an age. I'm afraid he has some disease, possibly an infectious disease. Don't let him touch you." When Song Tiankai heard this, he jumped up like a cat that had been stepped on. "You are talking nonsense." He did have AIDS, but he didn't dare to say it at the moment. He looked at Lily, who used to be deeply affectionate for him, and now looked cold. He shook his head with heartache and sighed, "Lily, it's changed, you've become cruel, the entertainment industry is a big mess." He didn't finish his words. When he saw Sister Lu coming out with a kitchen knife, he no longer dared to confess his feelings. He immediately slipped out the door. From then on, Song Tiankai never gave up. He exposed the fact that he was Lily's boyfriend, which made him famous. Finally, someone who was a Lily fan exposed all of Song Tiankai's information on the internet, including his 2 years ago. How he wanted to get benefits from Lily, how he deceived this innocent girl, and finally got AIDS, and now he has sinister intentions of trying to resurrect Lily, has been revealed. Friends were angry. Song Tiankai became a street rat. Because Lily was so famous, he would be recognized wherever he went. When he went to buy medicine, someone started to make things difficult for him. The look in the eyes of doctors and nurses when he went to the hospital. Song Tiankai couldn't stand it. The landlord of the place where he rented a house told him to get out, and no one was willing to rent the house to him. He had no choice but to follow the example of the Wang family and his wife, who lived under the overpass and had nothing to eat and drink all day long. He had no money to buy it, and even his parents said they had never given birth to a son like him after they found out about him. His health was already in bad shape. After such torture, Song Tiankai quickly collapsed, but he was not willing to die like this. He thought about asking for donations, thinking about borrowing money in every possible way, and even thought about asking for money. He went to steal money, but instead of stealing the money, he was beaten to death. The winter in the capital is already cold, so it is quite normal for 1 or 2 people to die in the morning. When the sanitation workers found his curled-up body that was almost rotten and oozing pus in the early morning, they called the crematorium. No one cared about what happened to Song Tiankai in the end. Although Song Tiankai did not jump off the building like Lily Wang in the plot, he still died miserably in the end. After Lily's contract expired, she announced her retirement. Her reputation in this life was too great, and it was impossible for her to truly retire. She thought of Lily Wang's AIDS infection in the plot. In the end, she could be said to have died in great pain. I didn't plan to get married again in my life, so I simply donated most of my family property to set up a foundation to help those who were sick but had no money for treatment. Suddenly Lily's reputation began to spread throughout China. She was willing to help poor children and went to the poorest places. She went to gathering places for AIDS patients and later devoted herself to charity causes throughout her life. She did not dislike AIDS patients, and even personally went to places with the most AIDS patients to gently encourage these people. She knew that Lily Wang was miserable and humble in her previous life. In the end, she did not make any more movies, but she became the most popular star in the world. She has never had any outstanding works, but whenever her photos appear, they are still reported wildly. Her life is like a legend. She became famous suddenly and died suddenly. She is not attached to everything in the entertainment industry. She did not miss the glory and wealth, and even regarded money as garbage in the eyes of everyone. Except for leaving a small part of her own life and supporting her parents, she almost used it to support the poor in medical treatment, especially for AIDS, and established a fund. Later, she was not the youngest and most attractive actress in China, but she became a legend in the minds of many people. Lily lived until she was 80 years old on this mission. The day she closed her eyes, the whole world began to mourn for her. Although some people scolded her for showing off when she was alive, now that she closes her eyes, everyone is immersed in grief. In a distant country, a gray-haired old man miraculously extended his life for decades. Originally, he should not have been able to live for so many years, but for some reason, the one glance he had seen at the time he seemed to have known her by fate in his previous life, but he remembered not to disturb her. He silently watched the person who was loved by most people in the world. He probably never thought that anyone would ever do it because of her. I fell in love with her for half a century. There is a kind of love that is not about getting or possessing, but about seeing her happy and not restricting her steps. The thin old man somehow remembered the thought that he had many years ago, as if he felt that she belonged to him, but he felt that she belonged to him. He couldn't bear to disturb her anymore, so he just watched her silently for the rest of his life. Now that he heard that she had returned to heaven, he also closed his eyes. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 118. Congratulations, you have completed the mission very well this time. Lily Wang is very satisfied, because your subsequent campaign for AIDS has fulfilled an unspoken wish of hers. I am afraid that Lily Wang herself has never thought about such a command. She was embarrassed, the illness made her unable to talk about it, and she was too embarrassed to bring it up as a task. In the end, Lily gave her such an approach that satisfied her. Lily nodded, but before she could speak, Li Yangzi continued, because Lily Wang likes you, this time I will not only give you 2 points as an exception, but where do you want to add them? Force. Lily thought that her intelligence has now reached the level of a normal person. Her current state is like the taller among dwarfs. Her IQ is not particularly high, but it is not as bad as before. She is a little stupid. Now she found that many of her attribute values were not enough, and the 9-yang manual was also damaged. She didn't know whether the increase in force value would repair it, and she also instinctively understood that if she asked Li Yangzi directly, he might not tell her, so she directly chose to add attribute values to force. Li Yangzi gave her a meaningful smile and waved his sleeves, and the information about Lily in the starry sky appeared. Gender, female, variable. Name, Lily. Age, 21. Intelligence, 61, out of 100. Appearance, 61, out of 100 points. Physical strength, 59, out of 100. Force, 21, out of 100 points. Spirit, 15, out of 100 points. Reputation, 20, out of 100 points. Skills, 9 Yang Manual, 9 Yin Manual, Heaven and Earth Gate Tao Te Ching, Southern Gu Technique. Specialties, Intermediate Cooking Skills, Intermediate Acting Skills. Charm, 33, out of 100. Collection, Corpse King's Love, Saint's Blessing, Angel's Heart. Lily was a little surprised when she saw her attribute values. She had already completed countless missions. Not to mention appearance, which had never had an increase in attribute points. And it actually added an attribute called reputation. It also increased by 20 points at once. This was an unprecedented fact, which surprised her. In addition, the force value increased by 3 points. As expected, she saw the column of 9 Yang Manual. The skills were a little brighter than before. What made her feel that she had gained a lot from this mission the most was that not only acting skills were added to the specialty column, but also one was added to the collection. What's going on with my reputation, my acting skills, and my angel's heart? Although Lily knew that she might not get the answer if she asked Li Yangzi, she still couldn't help but ask. She didn't expect Li Yangzi to answer, but as soon as she finished speaking, Li Yangzi actually answered, I think you will ask this too. Reputation means that your mission is not only loved by most people, but also loved by most people. There are certain people who respect you, so they turned on this attribute value. Since this is the first time you turned on the reputation by relying on your own ability, I will give you 10 points. In addition, because your reputation has reached a certain level in this mission. So as for the benefits of the additional 10 points, you will naturally feel it in future tasks. When Li Yangzi said this, he paused. As for acting, it is because of your profession. You have practiced diligently, so just like cooking, it will naturally be listed as your specialty when it reaches a certain level. The advantage in the future is that you can mistake a deer for a horse. The chance of people trusting you will be slightly different as your acting skills improve. This Lily understood. It probably means that in the future, when your deception skills are mature, even if you tell lies with your eyes open, you may become a person people believe. Lily's eyelids twitched, a stiff smile appeared on her face, and Li Yangzi continued. As for the angel's heart, you can use your previous world to understand it as the aura of the Virgin. After saying this, seeing Lily as if she didn't quite understand, Li Yangzi sighed softly, that is to say, among many people in my eyes, you are a person full of love. People will instinctively like you when they see you. Others believe that you are a kind person and are willing to get close to you. Although it seems that there is no benefit, in fact, I think this collection is you. The most useful collection with a high affinity. It is easy to attract people's likes, which is very helpful for tasks. It's not like no one has conquered this mission in the past, but they have never received such a reward. Lily was able to gain so many benefits in this mission. To be honest, Li Yangzi looked at her with some special eyes. After a series of explanations from him, Lily roughly understood that the reason why her charm suddenly increased by 5 points was probably because she became a star, so she was liked by many people. She was just doing a simple task this time. Even in Lily's opinion, it was not difficult at all, but she gained more than any other task. She couldn't help but feel secretly lucky that she had completed the task this time. The reward I got in the end was more than what I had gained after doing it 5 or 6 times before. Do you want to continue the mission now, or take a break? After doing many tasks and living for a long time, some people are greedy for fame and status, some are attached to wealth and glory, and some are reluctant to let go of the simple emotions and outstanding men in the plot. Many of the taskers are better than Lily. But Li Yangzi was a little more protective of this silly girl whom he didn't like at first. I want to continue the mission. Living until now, almost surviving has become a belief that supports her. Lily does not have a beautiful appearance, nor a smart brain, but she has a persistent and diligent heart. Once she decides something, she will go on firmly and not be easily influenced by others. She doesn't want to live once in this world and then disappear like this. It's not just about leaving her own shadow in the plot. What she needs is to live for a long time. Her answer did not surprise Li Yangzi, so he just nodded. When he disappeared in front of Lily, Lily's figure also gradually disappeared in the starry sky. When she woke up dizzy, she seemed to be lying on a beauty couch, with a crystal white arm supporting her chin. Next to her, 2 girls in palace clothes and buns were taking the beauty's fan. She gently shook it for her. When a lot of plots came to Lily's mind, someone seemed to be kneeling next to her and replying something. "Princess, the dinner has been prepared." The prince-in-law also asks the princess to move over. Lily only heard the girl's soft voice in her ears, as if to wake her up, but at this moment, she was suffering from a splitting headache from receiving the plot. She still couldn't help but feel the pain in her head like a drum when she heard these words. Lily endured the discomfort and waved her hand impatiently. "I already know this. Go down and let me lean for a while. Call me again in half an hour." The girl's face showed a soft look. She responded softly, bent her body and retreated. Lily endured the pain in her head to absorb all the information in her mind, and couldn't help but smile bitterly. After becoming Master Mija, she also became Panjinlian. Logically speaking, she shouldn't be unfamiliar with entering similar drama plots, but now that she thought about the plot clearly and received the memories, she really don't know what to say. The mission of this trip is to enter the famous guillotine case. If you just listen to the name, I am afraid that many people are still a little unfamiliar, but if you mention Baozhang, Chen Shimei and Qin Xianglian, I am afraid many people will understand where this place comes from. This time she became the Princess Chen Shimei, later married, the retribution for the man who robbed her, and was later ridiculed, becoming the scandal of the entire royal family, and the widow of her husband's death. In the plot, Qin Xianglian is loyal, filial, kind and hard-working. She has been married to Chen Shimei for many years. They were originally very loving. Chen Shimei studied hard for 10 years and then went to Beijing to take the exam. Qin Xianglian gave birth to a child for him, and after he went to Beijing to take the exam. Qin Xianglian would not have gone to Beijing to find her husband if Chen's mother had not hanged herself in order to save some food for her grandson. After Chen Shimei arrived in Beijing, there was no news from her family. She had not been seen for 2 years, but she didn't even bring a message. Qin Xianglian and her 2 children couldn't bear it in their hometown, so they came to the capital all the way. After asking around, they heard about her husband Chen Shimei. After hearing the news, she finally asked to see Chen Shimei, but unexpectedly Chen Shimei avoided seeing her. In the end, she had no choice but to transform into a singer and enter the princess's mansion, humiliating Chen Shimei. Finally, Chen Shimei became angry and sent people to hunt her down. Unexpectedly, the people who were chasing Qin Xianglian's mother and son couldn't bear to kill her, and finally committed suicide in order to be loyal. Under the guidance of others, Qin Xianglian found the famous Baozheng Baoqingtian, held a trial on several major charges, and finally beheaded Chen Shimei. This plot is probably not clear to anyone in China. Later generations will call the ungrateful and empathetic man Chen Shimei. Everyone sympathizes with Qin Xianglian's experience, but no one has thought about the one who was bullied. What happened to the princess? She was originally a golden girl. Because the emperor loved talents, he asked Chen Shimei if he had a wife and then married her to this talented and beautiful young man. Originally, the relationship between the two couples was okay, but the princess had no love at all. She had thought that Chen Shimei would have a wife and children in her hometown, but Qin Xianglian's visit was like a blow to her head, which she couldn't bear. Although she has been notorious for stealing husbands, after all, this is the first time for a princess to get married. This era is already very harsh on women, so she will inevitably be criticized even though she is a princess. In addition, although Chen Shimei she lied to her, but after all, the two of them now have the righteousness and reality of husband and wife, so she went to the palace to ask the queen mother to make the decision. She wanted to save Chen Shimei once, but to her surprise, Bao Zheng was so jealous that he not only did not listen to her plea, but instead beheaded Chen Shimei. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 119. Resentment arose in the princess' heart. She was originally a proud daughter of heaven, but in the end she became a woman who was bullied by others. She was originally the moon in the sky, but she was always compared with Qin Xianglian. The case of Chen Shimei fulfilled Bao Zheng's reputation, fulfilled Qin Xianglian's steadfastness, and even fulfilled the loyalty of Han Qi, who pursued Qin Xianglian but couldn't bear to do it in the end. In the end, Chen Shimei was hacked to death with a knife. Naturally, he gained a lot of notoriety, but he died instantly. No one asked the living princess how she felt. Everyone thought that she was a princess who used her power to bully others and that she deserved the retribution she got now. However, they never thought that it was not her fault that she was born well and it should not be the reason for the public to attack her. She thought she had found her husband, but in the end he turned into a werewolf and was hacked to death. She was already pregnant with flesh and blood, but the child she gave birth to became an orphan without a father. She should have a good marriage, but because of Chen Shimei's deception, she, a dignified princess, ended up with everyone shouting, beating, and laughing at her. A princess whose husband died in the royal family will be ridiculed by others no matter how favored she is. The emperor cannot stop everyone in the world from talking, and the children she gives birth to will grow up amidst the ridicule of everyone. She has nothing to do. You're right, how can a woman get her own way in her marriage? She couldn't help but marry a deceitful man. She did nothing wrong, but in the end she was criticized by many and ended up being widowed at a young age. The princess hated Bao Zheng, hated Chen Shimei, and even more hated Qin Xianglian. She was the daughter of a majestic emperor, but she was trampled under the feet of such an ordinary woman because of Chen Shimei. She had a very high self-esteem. I can't stand this anger in my heart. In addition, after Chen Shimei's death, this matter could also be regarded as a royal scandal, so the emperor alienated her. In the end, even his mother and queen also disliked her. In her depression, she became the laughingstock of the entire Song dynasty and died early. No one sympathized with her after her death, and many people showed contempt when she was mentioned. Even after she died, she would be reviled by thousands of people and suffer eternal infamy. The resentment in her heart can be imagined. After Lily received the plot, she couldn't help but sigh. She was a princess now, so she could naturally feel the original owner's thoughts. The original owner was right, but her excessive self-esteem and pride made her unable to accept what happened after Chen Shimei was killed. That's all, but because of the education she received since childhood, Lily can also understand her mood. Especially when Qin Xianglian was sued for her grievances, it seemed like she was born to take advantage of her because of her high birth status. No one thought that she actually had grievances in her heart. Now the original owner has 3 wishes in total. The first is to clear away the grievances one has suffered from the world. She is not a shameless woman who steals someone's husband. If Chen Shimei really has a wife, she is not surprised. The royal princess is not worried about marrying an old man in his 30s. In fact, she has already suffered a loss by marrying Chen Shimei. In the end, she will be humiliated by Qin Xianglian because of it. She is not willing to accept it. Secondly, she must not fall into the ending of being laughed at by others in her previous life. From a majestic golden branch to a foxtail grass, the kind that everyone can laugh at. This time she must change the ending. She, the royal princess, must live with her head held high. Keep your chest out. The most important thing is that although Chen Shimei deserves it, he can't be killed by Baozhang, otherwise he will step on her royal family's face and clear Baozhang's name. If this is the case, then that's it, but she is unwilling to accept it. Chen Shimei wants to die. He should die under himself, the deceived victim, not Baozhang's guillotine. It seems that the conditions are not difficult, and they are related to Chen Shimei. As long as Chen Shimei and Qin Xianglian are solved, the rest of the difficulties will be easily solved. The princess's nickname is Xiaoming, and her nickname is Lily. Lily came at the right time. It happened to be Chen Shimei's birthday, and everything started from this. First, Chen Shimei's parents died of starvation. Qin Xianglian was unable to raise a pair of children on her own, so she begged for food along the way and came to Beijing to find a husband. After she found out about the princess's mansion, she went outside to ask for permission. The gatekeeper initially refused to let her in. After notifying Chen Shimei already knew about Qin Xianglian's coming, but was afraid that she would know the truth, so she concealed Qin Xianglian's true identity and only said that she was a former compatriot. After further investigation, after Qin Xianglian revealed her identity, the steward sympathized with her and was afraid that she was really the consort's first wife, so he thought of a way to let her in, but pretended that he was powerless to stop her. Today happened to be Chen Shimei's birthday. Qin Xianglian happened to meet the Prime Minister Wang Yanling and asked for his help to bring him into the princess's house. She played and sang Chen Shimei and scolded her. In the end, the princess was laughed at but kept in the dark. The original princess excused herself for being unwell, and Chen Shimei knew that Qin Xianglian had something on her mind after she came. She wanted glory and wealth, but she also cared a lot about her children, so she was upset at the moment. During the chaos, once Lily fell ill, he was overjoyed and pretended to coax her to rest in the room without letting her come forward. Therefore, Qin Xianglian's scolding that everyone applauded later was not known to Lily, but in the end he ended up because of it. And she has the reputation of being a husband stealer and deserves to be a concubine. Now that Lily has received the memory of the original owner, the first person to be punished is the waiter. It's not to blame her for being petty, but this person is eating his own food, taking the salary he gave, and his elbows are turning outside. People like the doorman are not uncommon, but I haven't seen him before. Now that I have hit the knife edge, I naturally want to operate on him first, and then let out this bad breath. Thinking of this, Lily sat up and said in a cold voice, I heard that someone broke into the house today. The servant guarding the door is not doing his job well. What's the use of him? At 30, he was sent to the palace and handed over to the queen mother. My grandma will help train him and teach him to be good. At this moment, Lily made up her mind to kill the chicken and show it to the monkey, so as not to let the gatekeeper betray his master in the future for a little profit. As soon as she said this, the two palace maids who were fanning themselves in the room shivered and responded softly. The palace maid who had just come in to reply heard the movement in the room and hurriedly stepped in again. Is the princess feeling better? After the palace man finished speaking, he cautiously raised his head and glanced at Lily. Lily ignored her and just asked, "Where is the prince consort entertaining guests?" The princess palace is very spacious, and the original owner is quite favored by the emperor. Therefore, the pavilions in the princess palace are exquisite, and there are 3 or 4 places where guests can entertain guests. The little palace maid secretly complained. The prince-in-law had sent a message. The instructions were that if the princess felt unwell, she should stay in the room to rest, and there was no need to go out to enjoy the cool breeze, as birthdays were celebrated every year anyway. Before she could reply, she saw that Lily had already packed up and looked ready to go. Returning to the princess, the consort once said. As soon as Xiao Gongyi timidly spoke, Lily looked at her and sneered, "You just need to remember that I am still in charge of this house. This is the princess's house, not the prince's house." Frightened by this, the little girl quickly confessed with trembling all over. He looked into her memory and confirmed that the location was correct. Then she straightened her clothes and asked someone to prepare a chariot. When they came to the attic here, the stage downstairs had been set up, and the evening drama happened to be sung here. Chen Shimei hadn't arrived yet, so Lily first sent someone to the palace to spread the word and gave Wang Yanling a message. The stumbling block prevented him from bringing Qin Xianglian to attend today, so he told people not to make any noise, and went upstairs first, letting people prepare food and eat it first to fill his stomach. When the lanterns came on, a group of people made friends with the consort Chen Shimei. After the guests arrived, the sound of gongs and drums started to sound. Lily sat upstairs and looked down. I wonder if it was because the sky was dark and the lights were brightly lit below. No one saw her when she was sitting on top. Instead, she could see the scenery below clearly. Chen Shimei was sitting in the crowd with a smile on her face. Wearing a python dragon robe, although he is more than 30 years old, he looks elegant. Moreover, he has studied hard for many years, and he has the temperament of a scholar. No wonder he was directly recruited as the emperor's consort after being selected as the #1 scholar. The person who was supposed to be singing came on stage. While everyone was waiting, they saw a woman in shabby clothes bringing a pair of children to the stage. She pointed at Chen Shimei and glared at her. "Chen Shimei, my wife is here, why don't you recognize me?" Chen Shimei, who was sitting in the audience, almost spat out a mouthful of water. She was staring at the stage and trembling all over. Lily had already guessed that even if Qin Xianglian was not brought by Wang Yanling personally, she would definitely have a way to sneak into the prince consort's house, just like persuading the servant. Now it seems that this is indeed the case. It's just that it was easy for her to enter the prince consort's mansion in the plot, but this time it's difficult to go in and out as easily as the original owner remembered. She glanced at Qin Xianglian with a smile. Qin Xianglian in the original drama seemed to be very pitiful, weak, and helpless. In fact, Qin Xianglian was not that kind of woman. She raised her children to grow up, and also supported her man to study, take exams and be filial to his parents-in-law. If she were docile, she has been chewed to the point where all her bones are gone. She is daring and courageous, and has a strong and fierce personality. When she saw the princess in the plot, she did not kneel down. She also claimed that she was a righteous person and the princess was a concubine, and said that she should obey the laws of the country. Kneel down, but according to family rules, the princess should kneel down and respect her. She is very articulate and capable. In the plot, she could make the princess lose face, but now she has the ability to scold Chen Shimei until she can't even lift her head. You went to Beijing to take the exam, and there has been no news for several years. I heard people say that you were in Beijing High School. I dragged my children along the way, and I didn't expect you to be disappointed. Qin Xianglian laughed quietly, and straightened her back, the chaff of the chaff. My wife has suffered so much, and the kindness in adversity is as deep as the sea. There is no news from you when you go to Beijing, and I hope you will lean on Chaman day and night. Why don't we meet each other, and you forget your old love and your new marriage? You are obsessed with wealth and have forgotten your roots. How do you know that wealth is like a floating cloud? My heart is like a knife and I can't bear the tears, but the robber has an iron heart. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 120. Qin Xianglian's words rhymed with each other, and the troupe kept up the allegro, which made her sing in unison, which was very beautiful. Some people in the audience were mesmerized, but Lily on the high building sneered, looking at Chen Shimei's frightened and guilty face. She whispered, "Arrest the troupe and others, send them to Kaifeng Mansion, and order people to keep them under strict supervision. I believe that the troupe has no ulterior motives, and there must be a conspiracy to sneak into the manor. If you want to kill me, you must be severely punished. You can make him tell the truth with your own body. This princess is a petty mistress." At first, Qin Xianglian hit her in the face and it made her resentful. Later, the troupe, like the servants, helped Qin Xianglian sneak into the house. "Come on, you deserve to be punished." Gong Yi whispered yes and then went downstairs. Downstairs, Chen Shimei was already panicked and scared. One was her children and the other was wealth. If she wanted to be rich, she would have to be a tiger or a wolf, otherwise once things got messed up. Come on, then not only might you lose your wealth, but you might even lose your life. Thinking of this, Chen Shimei glanced at his son Yang Ji, who was holding him in his arms with a cold look, and he still said, "Dad, I'm hungry. If Dad has some leftovers, please give some to me and Sister Dong." As soon as he said these words, everyone's eyes changed when they looked at Chen Shimei. Qin Xianglian couldn't help but reveal a hint of smile came. "If you accept your children, I will be a slave, but you must not wrong them." Chen Shimei's face turned red at her words, and she was wavering and couldn't make up her mind for a moment. "Come out." In Lily's view, Qin Xianglian was not an economical person. Although the two children were innocent and simple, Chen Shimei's words of asking Chen Shimei to give them some leftovers showed Chen Shimei's wolfish heart. It was this time that Chen Shimei drove Qin Xianglian and her son out of the house. This time he also became notorious. I saw that the next opera was sung just right. It was time for her to appear on the stage, so she slowly came downstairs. When she emerged from the shadows, Chen Shimei saw Lily's figure from the corner of her eye. She was so frightened that her legs weakened and she almost fell to her knees. Trembling all over and unable to stand up straight. "Princess, isn't the princess feeling unwell? Are you resting in the palace?" Chen Shimei was dripping with cold sweat. At this moment, Qin Xianglian turned around and saw Lily walking slowly over. Not only was she not afraid, but there was a hint of joy in her eyes. Straightened his back, raised his chin and stared at Lily. "You bold and cunning woman, why don't you kneel down when you see the princess?" The palace maid next to Lily scolded her harshly, but Lily knew that Qin Xianglian seemed to be docile, but the palace maid's scolding not only failed to gain any advantage, but might even turn her back. Suffered some anger. As expected. Qin Xianglian sneered twice and straightened her back. "When it comes to discussing the laws of the country, I should kneel down. When it comes to discussing the laws of the family, you should be angry. If you marry me first, I will be the most powerful, but if you marry you later, you will be biased. Lily glanced at Qin Xianglian and said nothing. If she quarreled with her like the original owner in the plot, it would be her own shame. If she quarreled with Qin Xianglian because of her origins, she would have just reduced herself to a vulgar realm. At this moment, she ignored him, but according to Qin Xianglian's character, she would be half angry to death. Sure enough, Qin Xianglian's expression changed when she saw Lily ignored her. Just as she was about to speak, Lily looked at Chen Shimei and sneered, "Did the consort marry a wife at home many years ago?" She glanced at the son Chen Shimei was holding and said, "He sneered twice. When I summoned my consort in the past, he never said that he had another wife in his hometown. This palace is a golden place. How can I allow such a cunning woman to call me sister?" Lily didn't. She spoke directly to Qin Xianglian, but instead shouted at Chen Shimei. "You lied to me and pretended that I was blind in the past and mistakenly saw you as a person. However, if you want me to accept your two children as ready-made stepmothers, you don't even think about it. I will be here tomorrow. I will go into the palace to reply to my mother and make peace with you. Just take care of yourself and lead this woman and child out today." Hearing this, not only Qin Xianglian was blindfolded, but even Chen Shimei was shocked. After a long time to recover, she reached out to hug Lily's thigh, but Lily dodged away with a look of disgust. Although Qin Xianglian was strong-willed, but now that she is a mother, she has to be a little stronger. She takes her children into Jianto's mansion to find someone, just to find a meal and clothes so that her children will not starve to death. Nowadays, there are years of famine, and she, a woman, can survive with her children. She knows very well that if something happens to Chen Shimei, she will be helpless, and where will her children beg for food? If Chen Shimei was really driven away at this moment, it would be equivalent to being defeated if she came in today to ask for the safety of her children. Qin Xianglian was confused and didn't know what to do for a while. Although Chen Shimei was unkind and ungrateful to her, she still had Chen Shimei in her heart. She just hated him for seeing profit and forgetting his righteousness. She had been married to him for several years, had children for him, served his parents, and provided for him. Not to mention studying, now he turned around and married someone else. Qin Xianglian was too proud and arrogant to swallow this, so she found Fang Er to enter the house and make a big fuss with Chen Shimei. In her heart, she hoped that Chen Shimei would go back with her. Yes, but if the couple had food to eat when they returned home, she wouldn't starve her parents-in-law to death. Thinking of this, Qin Xianglian's expression showed a bit of struggle, but Lily didn't give her time to think, and directly asked Chen Shimei and Qin Xianglian's mother and son to be kicked out. She ignored Chen Shimei's plea and asked others to take it. The troop came out, and the troop traveled around. She thought that what Qin Xianglian said was true, and she deliberately helped her come for revenge. She had promised that if Chen Shimei recognized her, she would send the troop out of the house safely, but she didn't expect that now the princess appeared and actually brought her and others in. The opera singer had a low status at this time. When he heard that he was about to be thrown into prison, everyone couldn't help but yell at Qin Xianglian. Women do a lot of harm to others. Qin Xianglian was panicked and anxious. She didn't want to show timidity in front of Lily. After all, in Qin Xianglian's heart, Lily was the woman who stole her husband. But now seeing such a scene, Lily had no intention of swallowing her anger. She didn't even want Chen Shimei's appearance anymore. Of course she couldn't be tough anymore, so she hurriedly pulled her daughter and knelt down. "Princess, have mercy on me. This little lady is talking nonsense. This matter is purely a family matter and has nothing to do with the troop. I beg the princess to be merciful." There was a sense of humiliation in her heart, and she was very dissatisfied that she had to kneel in front of Lily. There was anger and hatred on her face, and Lily glanced at her. "What kind of place do you think this princess's palace is? You can enter whenever you want? So that you can know what the fate of the gatekeeper is now. After Lily finished speaking, she asked someone to bring the gatekeeper up. At this moment, he had been purified. Because he was sold with a death contract, he was not only castrated, but also killed. There was no one to support her. Qin Xianglian felt panic and fear when she saw the gatekeeper looking at her with a pale face and resentment. She was panicking because she would implicate others, but she was afraid that the princess was so ruthless. She originally thought that the princess had robbed her husband, so it was only natural for her to sue Chen Shimei. Even the princess should be a concubine in front of her. Who would have expected that this would happen? She was so frightened by Lily that she started to tremble all over. She was not a demon king in the first place, and it was natural for her to harm people. At this moment, she felt guilty and pointed at Lily and said, "As a member of the royal family, he can be so cruel and ruthless. It is really disappointing." She did not dare to mention the matter of keeping her children at this moment. Seeing the scene in front of her, Qin Xianglian was also afraid that one day Lily would be in a mood to kill her. The lives of her two children were also lost. She glanced at Lily bitterly, quickly pulled her daughter up, and stared at Lily with a vigilant look. Qin Xianglian and others were beaten out. Seeing that Chen Shimei wanted to beg for mercy again, Lily was too lazy to listen to what he had to say. She just had his mouth blocked and pushed him out. Everyone in the troop had their arms cut off and sent away. When they went to Kaifeng Mansion, they all looked sullen and cursed endlessly. Lily thought very clearly that in order to end the lawsuit with Chen Shimei, she had to make peace with Chen Shimei as soon as possible and cut the mess quickly before Qin Xianglian started to make trouble. Fortunately, she drove Chen Shimei away at this time. He has no chance to summon Han Qi again, and I believe it will be impossible for Han Qi to chase Qin Xianglian again. As long as this does not happen, Qin Xianglian can only sue Chen Shimei for remarrying, deceiving the emperor, and being unfilial to her parents. If he has nothing to do with Chen Shimei, this messy lawsuit should have nothing to do with him. He will no longer be involved in the couple who love and kill each other, and then she will no longer become a laughing stock. It is no longer possible to become a royal joke and be laughed at. Although there are few princesses in the royal family who are divorced, they are not completely absent. Although divorce is still not a good thing, because the emperor himself was blind when he recruited his consort, no one dared to laugh at the emperor boldly. He only had to perform another one. His duty as a victim has won everyone's sympathy from now on. Don't let everyone in the world revile you anymore. I think this time the mission should be completed. Lily thought very well. That night she started preparing to practice martial arts again. After adding a few points of force value, as expected, she remembered many places in the Nine Yang manual that she had not remembered at first, and discovered the force value. It's so important, Lily sighed in her heart, and the night passed like this. Unexpectedly, she had just entered the palace the next day and met the Queen Mother. Before she had time to report to the Queen Mother, a chamberlain hurriedly came to report that it was the civilian woman Qin Shi Xianglian who had sued her and her consort Chen Shimei to Kaifeng Mansion. Bao Zheng, the governor of Kaifeng, has an upright character and is not afraid of power. Once he heard someone suing the princess, others would not dare to take the case. But Bao Zheng was different. He dared to take the case and sent someone to summon the princess. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan ERWR. Chapter 121. When she heard this, Lily sneered twice, and when she saw the angry Queen Mother, she said, "Your Majesty, I want to reconcile with Chen Shimei. He originally had another wife, but he dared to deceive the emperor. Now his first wife Mrs. Chen came to the mansion and kept saying that she should bow down to her. Queen Mother, I really can't stand such an insult," she cried and begged at this moment, and the wonderful effect of her acting skills was revealed. The Queen Mother did not doubt Lily at all, but on the contrary he believed her words as soon as he heard her words, and saw his daughter crying so sadly. He couldn't help but feel distressed and angry at the same time. Bold Mrs. Jean, you are really too deceptive. I will send someone to ask for the emperor's will. Then Bao Zheng, if you don't send someone, then let's do it. If you dare to send someone, his head will not be saved. As soon as he finished speaking, a waiter reported back, saying that the person sent by Kaifeng Mansion to pick up the princess was already waiting outside the palace gate. When the Queen Mother heard this, she was furious and sneered twice. The AI family should go and see if Bao Zheng is so bold because of the virtuous king. Can he judge the blood of the royal family? This is the rule at this time. If a prince commits a crime and the common people are guilty, it is just a beautiful line in a play. If an official commits a crime at this time, the most he can do is to take off his robe and be beaten. In serious cases, he will be whipped. In fact, Lily is also very curious. How could Bao Zheng behead someone in the end? Chen Shimei was a serious scholar with a good reputation, and he was also the #1 scholar selected by the Holy Spirit. According to the law at this time, even if he stopped his wife and remarried, he could only be whipped for 50 or more than 70. The crime would not lead to death, let alone death. What's more, Chen Shimei's subsequent crime of deceiving the emperor was already forgiven in the original plot after he pleaded with the Queen Mother. Even though Han Qi died, he did it himself, not to mention the matter of eating the emperor's salary and being loyal to the emperor. If everyone were like Han Qi. When he couldn't finish his work, he committed suicide and left a shit basin on his employer's head. I'm afraid no one dares to use someone like him. Although Chen Shimei is not a human being, Bao Zheng acted too fiercely. He just chopped off Chen Shimei's head to fulfill his reputation of being upright. But this time Lily didn't want to be too fussy with him. After all, in Lily's plan, if she and Chen Shimei reconciled, they would have no contact with Qin Xianglian. Unexpectedly, Qin Xianglian took the initiative to come forward. Lily is naturally not ready to let her go again. The Queen Mother was extremely angry and wanted to leave the palace. When the Phoenix chariot carried the mother and daughter all the way to Kaifeng Mansion, Qin Xianglian and Chen Shimei were already kneeling in front of the hall. Qin Xianglian was fine, but Chen Shimei was being escorted to his knees on the ground. He had not seen her all night. His face showed a haggard look. When he saw Lily, his eyes lit up and he hurriedly said, "Princess, save me." "Shut up," the Queen Mother scolded him, and then walked into the lobby. Bao Zheng stood up and saluted. Then Wang Sheiyang's Mahan quickly brought 2 chairs out and sat down with Lily and her daughter. The 2 children, brother Ying and sister Dong, knelt beside Qin Xianglian, staring at Lily with a wary expression. "I heard that a bold and cunning woman sued the princess of the dynasty. Bao Gong has already tried her," the Queen Mother asked with a smile as soon as she sat down. Bao Zheng's face was a little pale at first. In this era of supremacy of imperial power, he actually took countless risks by doing this. Now that he saw the Queen Mother coming in person, he couldn't help but become a little nervous. He subconsciously looked at Qin Xianglian, but he saw Qin Xianglian bending down deeply towards him and just shouting, "Please make the decision, sir." When she said this, Bao Zheng thought of her pity, and his initially wavering heart became firm again. Bao Zheng is so bold that he asked for life for the people. He boldly tried the princess today. If the emperor is blamed in the future, Bao Zheng I'm willing to pay for it with my black gauze hat. After he finished speaking, he took off his official hat and held it in his hand with a cold face. Today the princess must be interrogated. Don't talk about the Queen Mother's plea. Even if the wise king comes in person, Bao Zheng will also interrogate him. Undoubtedly. Bao Zheng was originally a jinchi. In this era, although a jinchi could serve as an official, it did not necessarily mean that he would become an official. He was promoted by the 8 wise kings to achieve what he is today. It is precisely because of this that the meaning in his words this means that even if the Empress Dowager Xiudi arrives, even if his benefactor, the 8 wise kings, arrives, he will not be merciful. At this point, it is not necessarily Bao Zheng who wants Chen Shimei to die, but Qin Xianglian probably hates Chen Shimei to the core and wants him to die. Lily had the idea in her mind, so she sat quietly on the chair and whispered softly. Master Bao is such a clear-minded official. Could it be that what he said meant that you only have a wise king in your eyes and not a queen mother? Catching a linguistic flaw in Bao Zheng's words, Bao Zheng was a little flustered as soon as Lily spoke. Come to think of it, he is the most upright person. He never disputes the power of words with others. He always convinces people with facts and evidence. Unexpectedly, Lily was cunning and caught him in his words. As soon as Lily finished his words, he was very upright. The Queen Mother's face darkened. Bao Zheng couldn't help but feel a little frightened, and hurriedly said, "It's not true." The Queen Mother sneered twice, turned to Lily and said, "My son, Chen Shimei, if you don't want it now. If you want it, then you will keep his children under your knees." Upon hearing this, Qin Xianglian's face turned pale with fright. Bai Bai hugged the children tightly and said, "Please make the decision, sir. No noise in the courtroom. Open the court." At this point, Bao Zheng knew that the road ahead was dangerous, so he had to go on bravely. Qin Xianglian made 3 accusations against Chen Shimei. The first was to stop his wife and remarry, the second was to deceive the emperor and hide the truth from her, and the third was to be unfilial to her parents. Different from what happened later in the original plot, she wanted to murder her parents and children, and also killed the warrior Han Qi. And she had 2 accusations against the princess. One was that it was an unforgivable crime to take away a man's husband, and the other was that she hurt innocent people and her heart was like a snake or a wolf. When Lily heard this, she almost couldn't hold it back and laughed. "Qin can just sue Chen Shimei, but what's the point of suing me? Although seizing someone's husband brings a bad name to me, I didn't know about it in advance. All because of Chen Shimei's concealment. This is consistent with the fact that you sued him for stopping his wife and remarrying to deceive the king. Why is it still my fault? What's the point of me beating the doorkeeper? Wrong. He is a member of the royal family, but he doesn't know that all his food and clothing come from my palace, but he doesn't know how to favor the master, but instead turns his elbows outward. Should such a villain deserve to be beaten?" Qin Xianglian was left speechless by Lily's question. After thinking for a moment, she hurriedly said, "The theater troupe helped me find a husband, so why are they guilty? Why did the princess put them in prison and impose severe punishments on them? If everyone can break into my palace, wouldn't it be chaos? If assassins sneak in according to the law, they will be chopped off. It would not be an exaggeration to kill all 9 of them." Lily stood up. Staring at Bao Zheng on the stage, he said, "It is said that Bao Wen is like the blue sky. Now it seems that it is nothing more than this. This is a complaint that makes people know the obvious loopholes at a glance. Lord Bao will actually summon me to come, Brother Wang. It has been famous for many years, but I didn't expect it to be nothing more than this. What's more, if someone below the Qin family sued me like this, would you blame me?" Lily asked Bao Zheng until he was speechless. The characters in this story it cannot withstand scrutiny. The story itself is a compilation, so the 8 wise kings at this moment are exactly what Lily calls Brother Wang. Bao Zheng's face turned red after being talked about, but now he actually listened to Lily and brought shame on his benefactor's face, and he couldn't help but feel ashamed. Although Bao Zheng has a resolute character, Chen Shimei did not send anyone to chase Qin Xianglian at this time. Secondly, although he was guilty of deceiving the emperor had pardoned him because of the princess's plea, even though he abandoned his wife and remarried. However, at this time, the law clearly stipulates that if you have a wife and marry again, if the girl knew about it, she would be punished. However, because of Chen Shimei's deception, The princess did not know about it and was a victim. She also voluntarily reconciled with Chen Shimei. Qin Xianglian sued her for stealing her husband again, so she would not be able to stand on her own. Even if Chen Shimei was guilty of deception, the maximum he could receive would be 70 lashes. However, because Chen Shimei was the top 3 scholar and was an official, he could use the official position to avoid all guilt and be released without charge. This punishment deprived Chen Shimei of all his glory and wealth. It could be said that it was very serious to him. The people outside kept cheering. Qin Xianglian was still dissatisfied, but seeing that the situation was over, Chen Shimei could no longer be sentenced to death. She had no choice but to give up for the time being. It was just her hometown. After a famine, Chen Shimei lost her wealth. If the couple returned to their hometowns again, they would be in poverty. What's more, Chen Shimei hated Qin Xianglian to the core. When she thought that Chen Shimei was not dead, she wanted to return to her hometown with her, Qin Xianglian thought. I couldn't help but feel a little scared when I got up, and subconsciously glanced at a pair of children. Bao Zheng felt sympathy in his heart and ordered without thinking, the dynasty takes 300 taels of silver and gives it to the Qin family. When the people guarding the door heard this, they all cheered. Everyone said that Bao Wen was upright, clear-minded and upright, and that he was a good official. Lily thought about the plot in which the original owner's reputation was ruined for a lifetime, and stood up at this moment. I don't know whether Mr. Bao is a good official or not. Princess, please speak, now that the case has been completed. To be honest, because of the intervention of the Queen Mother and Lily, even Bao Zheng could not help but feel a little pressure and felt very uncomfortable. Now that the case was concluded, he could not. Bao Zheng was inevitably a little impatient and frowned when Lily continued to speak after being punished. As we all know, Mr. Bao was a filial piety and righteous man. He was a Jinchi in the 28th National High School. He did not enter the official position until he was 36 years old. Brother Bao Wan has a keen eye for talents, which made you rise to the top in just 2 years. Now, in just a few years, you are already in Kaifeng. It's really gratifying to have the government. Lily changed the topic and first congratulated Bao Zheng. Seeing that he looked a little confused, she continued, it's just that I know that Emperor Kaizu always cherished talents, and the late emperor was even more so. Officials have their salaries customized every year. In addition to rice, noodles, tea, etc. being distributed by the court, the monthly salary is a lot of money, but it can guarantee that you can handle cases like a god. If you give out 300 taels of silver every time, you don't know what to do with it. Use. The Song dynasty is famous for its kindness to officials in history, but Bao Zheng giving 300 taels of silver to Qin Xianglian is actually the biggest flaw in the play. Although Bao Zheng has been promoted to Kaifeng Prefecture, he is both honest and honest, so he is so loyal from being a county magistrate to his current position. He probably didn't have much money in his hands. In order to raise a pair of children for Qin Xianglian, he actually spent 300 taels. Even though the Song dynasty treated officials favorably, Bao Zheng at this time did not later enter Longtag. When the amount of money was doubled, he now only had enough money to live a prosperous life. He had only been an official since he was 36 years old. How could he save money in just a few years? I don't know if the reason for reputation came into play at this time. Almost all the people guarding outside the yamen believed what Lily said, and the yamen was silent for a while. My loyal heart can shine on the sun and the moon. If the princess doesn't believe it, I'm willing to put my black gauze hat on my head as a guarantee. When Bao Zheng heard Lily's words, his face turned red with anxiety, and he wanted to speak again, but Lily had already laughed softly. The officials of the imperial court are supposed to work for the benefit of the people. It should be a right given by the emperor. Mr. Bao always talks about resigning. People who know about it just think that you are threatening me. If you don't know about it, I am afraid that you will have to resign now. I thought that your excellency was threatening the emperor through me, and wanted to resign for standing up for the women of the people, but now I am resigning without even saying a word. Could it be that Master Bao got his reputation by resigning? In this case, Bao Zheng gained a reputation for not being afraid of power, but this is what Lily hated the most. His reputation was based on sacrificing a woman's reputation. Therefore, the princess's purpose was to make Bao Zheng can no longer achieve his reputation of being upright and upright through her. Now that Lily had finished speaking, she didn't mention it to Bao Zheng anymore. Talking too much could easily lead to bad things. She glanced at the Queen Mother and helped the Queen Mother out of the yamen and onto the phoenix chariot. The people outside knelt on the ground and everyone called Princess Chitos. Many people even pointed at the yamen and whispered that Qin Xianglian no longer had the prestige of winning lawsuits in her previous life. It was said that she later packed up her baggage and returned to her hometown with Chen Shimei. Bao Zheng was accused by Bai Hei that day, so he counted his family property and prepared it. How could he dare to hand over money to Qin Xianglian when dealing with the censor sent by the emperor to investigate and deal with him? I'm afraid that not only will I not be able to help her, but I will actually harm her. Although Bai He and Chen Shimei reconciled, the matter did not become a big scandal in the end and turned into a royal scandal. The emperor felt pity for the sister who was of the same mother. Seeing that she did not take the initiative to make a noise, he felt guilty and chose for her. Such a consort, so much love and affection, no one among the nobles dared to talk about Lily like in the plot. She raised her only son alone and never remarried. Instead, she became a role model for women praised by the people. But Qin Xianglian thought that she had supported her husband many times, but in the end Chen Shimei married someone else for the sake of wealth. She was still full of resentment. She also sued Chen Shimei but did not kill him. Bao Zheng sent them back to their place of origin and they were still husband and wife. But Qin Xianglian not only hated Chen Shimei, but Chen Shimei also hated her for ruining his future and accused her of evil intentions. Therefore, the relationship with her was very bad, and they no longer had the affection they had in the past. They often fought and scolded her. Without Chen Shimei's death, Qin Xianglian was seen as a victim. On the contrary, because Chen Shimei was rumored everywhere, everyone thought that she was not a fuel-efficient lamp, so they stayed away from her. The couple often quarreled and fought. The family was originally very poor, and Chen Shimei the remarriage became the laughing stock of everyone in his hometown, and the two children were looked down upon when they grew up. To be continued.